podcast called Jellison podcast.
First ever type 1 diabetic in UFC history.
Doing fine. Nice to be with you.
Get out! He's like, yeah.
My tunnel vision and my periphery, I'm like off field.
Hey, you know how it is, though. Hey, when your team.
I don't remember that. That's crazy.
What's up, everyone? We're back with another episode of the Jellison podcast, and David, very special guest, the first ever IU guest to join the podcast, Mr. Nick Zeisloft. Nick, how are you?
I'm doing great. I didn't know I was the first one, but honored. I appreciate it.
Well, hey, man. I mean, I've had some bad luck trying to get you guys on. I think they see the Purdue thing and they're like, nah, I'm not gonna mess with that. But I mean, how's retirement life going for you, or quote unquote retirement? Because I know you're
retirement, right?
You got a new job and you seem really busy.
Oh no, definitely busy. Big transition, but things are going well. You know, basketball doesn't go forever. It's just nice to be home in Chicago now and not miss anything. Not miss holidays, birthdays, you know, special events, and it's been great being back home and just being around my family, my fiance, and a lot of friends.
You mentioned your fiance. Congrats on getting engaged recently.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'll mention it to her in a little bit.
Yes, sir. I mean, what is this new job, if you don't mind me asking, and how do you like it so far?
I'm an analyst for a real estate firm, so I'm on the back end side, analyzing properties that Four has acquired. It's been a very steep learning curve so far, just from understanding where to locate the information you locate and actually knowing what to locate. But it's been going well. I love the people I work with. You know, as I was lucky to have in college, and especially my last year at Indiana, which I'm sure we'll get into, being on a team that, you know, works well together is one of the most enjoyable things, you know, to have, regardless of what the job or sport is, right? So I'm loving the people I'm working with, and it's been a great start. I think I had it down count out. I'm in like week 6 or week 7 right now, so very new.
Getting into the groove of things. I like it. I think it's really cool. A lot of guys, especially in basketball, get into real estate, and I mean, a multitude of facets. But is that something that you kind of thought of when you were playing for after your career was over?
You know, gosh, I really didn't have it all figured out by any means, and I still don't. When I was in college, kind of towards the latter years, I just loved the game so much that I wanted to keep playing. If the, you know, opportunity presented itself, I did not have a life after basketball figured out by any means. I probably didn't even figure that out until the last, you know, 6 or 7 months, honestly. It was quite a transition from that standpoint of like, okay, this is time, you know, your game, you love it, but you don't love it as much as you used to. It wasn't at IU where I ever had an idea that I would get into real estate. I was in finance. I was able to do my grad school there at Kelly when I transferred over from Illinois State. So I knew finance was kind of where I had an interest in all that, and it kind of didn't know where it was going to stem into, but here it did. It stemmed into real estate.
And I mean, when I first kind of saw that you retired, I was super surprised. I was like, I thought he was, doing pretty well over there and overseas. I mean, how hard was it to make that call, and what all went into that decision?
It was tough. I mean, there's a ton of reasons. Some of it was, you know, the team that I had played for. Let's see, if we're going back here now to 2020, COVID hit. I was playing for one of the best teams in Spain. That's the level that I aspired to get to. And if I wasn't going to stay at that level for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you know, I pretty much had thought like, okay, if I'm not going to stay there, it's about time to wrap this thing up. I'm 28 years old now, not a bad time to start a new career. I mean, I could walk you down a million different reasons, but it kind of stemmed from that. And year after the 2020 season ended, the job I got in Greece was a good league. It wasn't the same echelon as where I was at in Spain. With all that, you know, tying together, my fiance being back here, well, girlfriend at the time, being back here in the States and family, and I had done it for 4.5, 5 years. It takes a toll. It's tough, like you said, how tough it is. Being over there alone, it's a great experience, but it's a very tough 8, 9, 10 months out of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of guys on who've played overseas, and one thing that literally every single person has said is how lonely it is over there. I mean, you don't really know the language. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people speak English wherever you're playing, regardless around the world. But I mean, it's a lot of just kind of chilling, hanging out, video games, doing whatever. So, I mean, it is really hard, especially mentally for you guys.
No, mentally and physically, it's a grind. It's kind of like college, but in a whole different way with the language barriers and the culture. Coaches will practice your tails off. And I thought I had Coach Crane doing that every day in college, but it's a little different when you're 24, 25, 18 to 23 doing that. So the physical side hurt me as well. I also had 2 like Achilles tendonitis issues that were just grinding on me for the last 2.5 years that I was playing. Mentally, every single day you get 1 off day a week, so it's never easy.
I mean, overall, how do you look back on those handful of years that you got to play overseas, though?
I love it. I mean, the people I've met, I'll always, you know, keep good, close contact and great relationships with them. Had some great teammates, had some great seasons, great teams, playing against some of the best players in the world that have made it over here now to the NBA, and some that haven't or may not, but that are starting to get recognition on the world scene, especially what we just saw in the Olympics. Phenomenal. I mean, it's. I always wanted to play at the highest level, and Spain to me was that. I'll never take that for granted. All the experiences, all the places I got to see that. Well, it is what it is, but I got paid to go to these places, which was really nice. I mean, you can't. I'll never again, like I said, take that for granted.
Who were some of the, I guess, like the most notable names that you played against while you were overseas?
Gosh, when I was playing in Lithuania, I played against we had the Kaunas team in Lithuania, was Algiris and Kevin Pangos, Brandon Davies, Aaron White, more. That team was like the 3rd best team in Europe that year, actually, too, from Lithuania. It was quite a team to play against. Then when I was in Spain, playing against Barcelona and Real Madrid and Baskonia and Valencia, I mean, playing against Thomas Hurtel, who was on France. He's on the French national team. Vincent Poirier, who's the 7-footer for the Celtics, was on the Bucks. He was on Baskonia at the time when I played against him. I mean, the list goes endless. Mirotic didn't play in the game that we beat Barcelona in 2020. He was out. But those likes, I mean, it was quite an honor strapping it up against those guys.
And I know we kind of got away from this, but was going overseas what you expected, or did you have like that massive culture shock that a lot of guys have?
It was my first time going to Europe ever. And the fact that I never had been, it was quite a big shock. What was less of one for me when I realized, like, okay, the G League isn't really doing it for me. My system, my skill set isn't really working. I need to go check this out somewhere else. And because of that, I was much more open to doing so. And it ended up being a great experience for me. But I've seen and heard of experiences where it lasts maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks, and these guys are done. My old teammate from Illinois State lasted in Japan, I think, anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, and was like, yeah, I've just not had it. And he had his brother there with him. I get it. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine what.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole process is just bananas to me. Like
Mhm.
going
From a time difference alone.
Yeah. I mean,
my fiance is a first grade teacher. She'd be getting out of school at 3 or 4. I'd be going to bed at 7, 8 hours time difference ahead around that time. So just thinking about when you're able to like communicate with your loved ones, it's a whole different thing. That's why a lot of times when you see some of these players that last so long over there, one, they're really good and they're getting paid really well. And well, on top of that, and probably more, importantly, they can have some, family, or they've already been, that's their life is to have their, wife, kids, family with them over there. It's just a totally different aspect when that happens.
mm-hmm. And you talked about playing in the G League, and how it didn't really like you couldn't really get up for it, I guess would be a good way of saying it. But how'd you look back on that?
I mean, it was a great experience playing against, some really good competition, and learning the NBA game differently than Europe. I think I would have been so much better the second time when I was in the G League if I hadn't had I had some really nagging, like I mentioned earlier, Achilles tendonitis issues. And again, it was just like every single day. I wasn't able to get past that mentally and confidently until probably a year later. And then at that point, the G League was especially that second time when Santa Cruz really could have been a great organization, great opportunity to kind of imprint myself there. But hey, it all happens for a reason, and it didn't work out. But I mean, great people, great coaches, players that should be in the NBA or could be playing on the top level Europe, but don't want to do that overseas life.
I mean, how cool is it though to be able to play fairly close to home, being Mad Ants?
Really cool, especially after that year at IU. After I got waived by the Pacers, going to Fort Wayne was cool because I was just Bloomington, Indianapolis, then up to Fort Wayne, and my dad's family and his side is originally from Fort Wayne, so that was really fun to be around them and spend some quality time when I was not, working and playing games, and with them, having that home base there.
And I skipped over this part, but is it weird to know that you aren't going to be prepping for a season? Because I've been talking to a few guys to try to get them on the show, and they're like, "Oh, I'm flying to Germany tomorrow. Oh, I'm flying to Japan in 2 days." Like, we got to push this out a little bit.
I get it. No, I've started to see some like seasons starting up again overseas, and I mean, is a little itch, but not anywhere like that. I don't really miss the game. I love the game. I always will. It's a part of me, and will always will be. But I actually haven't been on a court in like 2.5 months, and that's probably the thing that I'm missing the most is just being able to shoot in a gym alone. Not even just play, just like go in the gym, have some fun. That sound of the net is different, and always will be. There's a little bit there. It's like, dang, all these guys are going over right now. It's about that time. But one of my best friends, Jackie Carmichael, is going over to Slovenia tomorrow. And I'm over here thinking, yeah, I'm glad I'm not packing my bags right now to go anywhere alone right now. So he's a much better player than I am, and worth a lot more though. So I get it.
Okay, fair enough. Do you think that your kind of itch for the game will grow or just keep decreasing as the years go on?
I wouldn't decreasing. No, I mean, I guess it just depends on how we describe itch, right? So I'm watching the TBT, even though I don't think it's very good basketball. Like until the latter games, I'm still watching that. I still love it, and I can talk about it for days, as we're having this conversation, freely. It'll always be there. It always my number one sport. I always want to go play whenever I have an opportunity to, as long as my body feels okay. But no, I don't see it ever decreasing.
Fair enough. I mean, hey, I love the TBT. I got to go to the game in Columbus. It was Minimac and Volunteers, and then Carmen's crew, and I forget who they played in their first game, but
and then Mackey played against Carmen's, right?
We ended up losing, but
there's some fun teams. It's fun to get the alumni back. There are some good basketball, but then 64 teams is a lot. There's some. I'm seeing my buddy Max Bielfeldt play on the Bradley team, and I'm seeing some of the guys he's playing against, and I'm like, why are these guys out here? Like, I get it. Hey, you love for the game. I'll never disrespect that. That's that. But for me, I'm like, I couldn't even get off work to go play. So that will not. I doubt I'm able to do the TBT. It would be fun if we got an IU team to do it, to be part of that. But yeah, it's a lot to put into your summer too, when you have a chance at winning 100, or $1 million, right? Time shy is a thing, so I have to enjoy it. But
I think, I mean, as much as I don't want to admit it, I think if you guys got an IU team together, they'd be damn good.
I do agree. Seeing some tweets that were tweeted at guys like me and Friedel Jones, Sheehy, Holes, some of the guys that like James Blackman, Rob, some of the guys that played after me too. It would be a pretty solid squad. There's a lot of solid squads out there. I mean, that Boheim's Army team, Tyrese Rice is one of the best I've played against in Europe. He is a killer. So those, I mean, it comes down to Kiefer Sykes hitting a crazy shot because he's going off. I'm like, that is a terrible shot. That is an open gym big ball shot right there. Yeah. Where they could easily not make it. Our team goes down, ball game. $1 million right there. But hey, it's entertaining. That's the good thing about that tournament, is it's very entertaining.
Yeah, what do you think about the Elam ending? Because I see it kind of has like mixed reviews from the fans.
That's a very good question. I like it from an like external point of view. Like it's a very fun thing to watch.
Yeah.
Very entertaining. If I'm playing though, no, I want that fourth quarter the way it's supposed to be. Finishing games has always been something I've always taken pride on. That last 5 minutes is it. And I think that's the finishing, the ending that I've always, that's how I want to play it out. But don't get me wrong, it's fun too. It's an open gym. Like, you're playing to 7, other team is up 5-2. You have to strap it up, So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I see some people saying like, "Oh, the NBA should implement this," and I'm like, I don't. No. I really wouldn't want to see that. I mean, it's cool in something like the TBT or even the All-Star game. It's entertaining, but yeah, I wouldn't want to see that over 100 games. Whoever wins the finals. I kind of want to go back to your college career a little bit more in depth. What was that recruiting process like coming out of high school? I know you ended up in the recruiting process twice, but what was it like coming out of high school and choosing Illinois State?
Well, I almost went to Indiana just to be a regular student. I did not have any scholarships until July, going into my senior year. The very last tournament, I was getting some low Division I, mainly D2, D3 looks, and had a very good tournament in Maryville, Indiana, of all places. And there came an Illinois State scholarship, a UIC one, some interest from Iowa, DePaul, Bradley, another small school scholarship. And once scholarship hit, I was like, okay. And the schools that came into play, I was like, I'm gonna play. But I was really in between. Again, it wasn't from a lack of love or passion for the game. I gave everything I had to that game. It's, from before high school all the way until I stopped playing. But the fact that it came, when Coach Jankovic and Coach Parham and Judson from Illinois State contacted me and offered me a scholarship, and then took my visit there, and I committed the next day because I just liked the team, liked the group, liked the coaches. Kind of like how it turned out with IU that 3 years later, but a lot more things had to fall into place with the IU one because I had to graduate early. A lot of grad school situations, coaching, NCAA requirements with the grad stuff. And that my dad went to Indiana was quite a blessing that it all worked out that way too.
Before we get you to your transfer from IU, but how do you look back on those 2 years with Illinois State, and is it like bittersweet when you transfer from a school at all? I've never really asked that of someone who's transferred.
It actually was for me because I really loved that school. I love my teammates. That last year that I was there, it just wasn't the right thing for me from a basketball system standpoint. And I was able to graduate early and go to a school with a, very big, very great, respected business grad school. And that's what it came down to. And I made the decision from a career standpoint, basketball, as well as overall life and future job.
Yeah, I mean, I forget your exact wording of it, but you're basically like you weren't going to play basketball, you were going to go to IU, and it wasn't because of a lack of love for the game, but something that I've noticed already in the 20 minutes we've been talking is how you're just honest with yourself. You're honest with whatever situation you're in. I think it's really valuable.
No, it's always been something. Thankful that my parents, raised me that way, but it also is something that benefited me when I played for Coach Crean, and being able to be held accountable and be, understanding of when I mess up or when someone else messed up. That was one thing why that senior year team, my senior year team at IU when we won the Big Ten, was so special because we all were able to hold each other accountable, whether it was a freshman, junior, senior, fifth year senior. It was all like, okay, even Thomas Bryant could tell me I messed up, but Thomas knew I was going to tell him if he messed up too. And there was a mutual respect, understanding that we just wanted to win, and we were accepting of that. And that's something that, I think is needed in any team situation if you want to win and win championships.
Now, going back to your transfer to IU, was it a no-brainer when they showed interest? And I mean, what other teams were involved?
It was because of the family ties. When it came through, it was going to be IU. I had talked with West Virginia and Duquesne. Those are the only two places that I was set to visit. I visited Duquesne. I did not make it to West Virginia. Those were the three that I kind of finally came down to. But once IU had the scholarship available, the graduate stuff went through. Coach Crean was my type of coach. Indiana was always my school. I was a fan growing up. It's fun playing that jersey and playing in Assembly Hall when you grew up watching those games.
I mean, during that first game, I can only imagine putting on that Purdue jersey because I've been a Purdue guy my entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it like for that first game? You're walking out, even when you're in the layup line, just like, okay, I'm actually about to play for IU right now.
Yeah. It's nice that they give the exhibitions because the exhibitions don't count, and you're playing against a team that you guys are going to beat regardless. So it's nice to have that little rehearsal, I guess you could say.
I mean,
Cloud9 though. Cloud9. My parents were there. My dad was there. Probably more Cloud9 for my dad than it was for me. because at the end of the day, I'm just playing ball like another day. But yeah, being in Assembly Hall, man, I miss it. I miss it, and it was an honor that we were able to finish 17-0 that senior year in Assembly Hall because of how great the fans are, and just as importantly, if not more importantly, how great that team was.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Is it awkward to come into a program as a transfer? I mean, you're going to be depended on as an upperclassman. You're going to be a junior your first year, but you're
Mhm.
brand new to a program, to the culture, and trying to gel with the rest of the guys.
Little bit. It is a little tough, a little nerve wracking, because you haven't been there for your first 3 years of college like other guys have. But that year also we had a lot of newcomers, a lot of new freshmen that first year, so that also helped, because it was a transition for a lot of guys.
How special was it to, I mean, end your college career with a Big Ten championship and a Sweet 16 run?
Man, it's always the best. I guess when I first started high school and college, I wanted to finish strong. And that's always something I've prided myself on, whether it's a game, drill, practice, and to go out the best way. Not a national championship like we all thought we were capable of doing, but to have that Big Ten championship and to make a run in a tournament is all that all on it is there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you guys were really, really good that your senior year. I mean, you played with guys like Yogi, Blackman, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
Williams, OG, Thomas Bryant, Juwan Morgan. I mean, you go down on this. Well, how fun was it to play with some of those guys?
Just like, I mean, we all know their skill and talent level is amazing, right? We get that. We see that on the court. They're getting paid millions of dollars to do so, and rightfully so. It comes to me as like the locker room guys that we had, like what type of off the court guys we had on that team. Guys that will still come have a reunion, whether it's in LA or Chicago, years after the fact, and pick up like we just left off and just have fun and joke around and kid and give each other crap. That's the stuff that you always remember, and that's what brings winning. I mean, whenever you win, you have to have that bond, and winning teams stick together. Those guys, again, they're super talented, but best guys, best families. Miss being around them all the time.
Hey, I know we're getting close on time, so I just have a couple more for you.
Mm-hmm. And this has been great. If we need to run it back sometime, let me know if you got more questions.
For sure. During the season, we will for sure. I just want to talk about Tom Crean for a second. I know you've had pretty high praise for him already in this interview. I mean, how was your time with him like as your coach, and how did you feel when he got fired? What was that, 2 years after you left?
Mm-hmm. Actually, only one.
One?
One.
Oh, yeah.
It was within a year of us losing in the Sweet 16, so that was quite a shock to me when it happened. But I mean, Coach Crean is who he is because he loves his players. He loves his players just like he loves his own family. We always felt like a family. I'm still in contact with him, and gosh, I think it was in COVID. We had like a 2-hour Zoom, me, him, his wife, kids, all of them just hanging out, chatting. It's something that, the people, the fans don't see, is his, relatable skills and, just personality. Cause he's such a loving and caring person that always wants the best out of everyone and out of everyone that he's around. And that's something that just like, I'll always, never take for granted because he did that for me, whether it was tough love or, the happy side of everything too. So he always had a special place in my heart because, again, he saw something in me I never saw in myself and brought that out every single day. And gosh, we don't get to stay in contact as much anymore because he's so dang busy. But no, it's only a matter of time before I'd need to take a flight down there to see him down in Georgia. But he's he's one of the best. I mean, from a detail development and just want to win standpoint, he's my coach forever for that.
That's super special. Yeah, that's something I think a lot of IU fans would just love to hear about. I mean, that 2 hours of meeting. I mean, you guys just talking and catching up. But I mean, last question I have for you. I mean, how do you see the IU program doing going forward? And do you think Mike Woodson is going to be able to kind of get them back to that winning culture?
That's a tough one because I don't know him very much, if at all. I don't know much of the staff besides Dane Fife and some of the staff that stayed over from Archie's staff. I think it says something a lot when a coach is willing to keep staff from the previous coaching staff. And I like seeing that from a transition point from players and just culture and kind of meshing the two together. Because I know how it is with the transition 2, 3, 4, whatever, Coach Woodson is there for. It's always exciting. I think I'm even more excited now that I'm back in the States and able to actually, see the games. And hopefully now with a COVID less season, I'm very excited. Again, I don't know how it's going to turn out, in the Big Ten rankings or standings, but I'm excited to see him and the staff and the players that we have coming this year. So we'll see how the Big Ten turns out. I'm sure every time we come to Mackey or the Boilermakers go down there, it's going to be a raggedy one, as it always is. But I'll be certain to tune in this year since I've missed a few now from being overseas.
I mean, it'll be super interesting for sure. I know we're past time here, so I just want to say thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate you having me. And yeah, we'll have to try today. I know you probably had a few more questions. Fortunately, I'm getting almost to dinner time over here with Miss Fiance. So you have a good one and get back sometime, and just let me know. You have my contact.
Yes, sir. Stay safe.
You too. Nice for a Boilermaker and a Hoosier to connect like this.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
All right, see you, man. Take care.